Yes, I was.
And that was between the years 2008 to 2010.
Yeah, quite a short span of time.
Who may be too young to remember you, could you spend a little time to brief?
Well, actually, I was trained as an engineer, nothing related to politics. Engineer for about 10 long years in Dewan Rakyat as the deputy speaker of lower house, Dewan Rakyat, and followed by my deputy ministership in the youth and sports ministry, higher education ministry, and finally uh, in MOT, Ministry of Transport. That was between 2008 to 2010. Yeah, I was then quite controversial during my short span of time, short tenure in MOT. Well, of course, to many Malaysians who still remember the PKFZ fiasco. PKFZ stands for Port Klang Free Trade Zone. Yeah, that issue, of course, dragged me into a long legal tussle because I conducted an independent commission to do the independent survey on the alleged corruption, or rather scandal, related to the development project in PKFZ. That was way back in 2008. The court case was actually lasting for 10 over years, and that was really tiring, I must say that. Well, actually, the issue was quite simple. That if you were to analyze it rationally, because when I took over from my predecessor, the ministership in MOT, I faced a lot of harassment, especially in Parliament, and many of which were related to the alleged corruption and the fraudulent claim related to the project. And certainly, I had to do something, and I make a bold decision by engaging an independent accounting firm to do the tariff investigation and tariff probe into the allegations. An independent report, of course. When I say independent, it simply means now that report was prepared by the accounting firm, unrelated to the government service. And I did not allow any parties to make any correction or to tamper with the contents of the report. It ended up with a legal suit against me. Well, fortunately, I managed to come up clean from all this. That was really a protracted legal tussle that I could never forget. Yeah.
Go back, line up, take this vote, and then 6 months down the line, choo-choo, quang, 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 ploop, jumping here and there. So how do we?
Well, in fact, that reminds me of something interesting here. Of course, people have been talking about the anti-hopping laws, right? And that is no longer new, actually. As far as I'm concerned, easily 1 or 2 decades ago, we have been talking about that. But unfortunately, no party has ever put their foot down, largely because lack of a political will. And again, now, the political parties, by and large, I think, they share some kind of norms. Now, when a particular proposal, a particular proposed legislation suits their needs, they will support it. But when they come to that particular scenario, when a particular scenario serve their interest, serve their very interest, say, for instance, if at all there are certain wakil rakyat wanting to jump ship and join them, and ultimately would benefit them. I'm so surprised to say that sometimes the same person may come up with different stand altogether. But even those days, early days, I had seen that. I had seen that time and again. That means to say, in Malaysia, somehow or other, now we simply don't have some kind of firm commitment to what we believe in. Say, for instance, rasuah, corruption. Yes. Everybody say that we must anti-rasuah, we must fight corruption. And many a time, they would behave like they are really the graft buster. But unfortunately, if you were to analyze that closely, when they talk about anti-rasuah, they are only referring to rasuah or corruption, corruption perpetrated by their rivals. But what happened if they themselves, their own party, were to have rasuah case, were to have the corruption case? Would they have the same gut to stand up? I think that again is an acid test to a person's integrity and his so-called principle, whether or not the same principle would apply or not. All in all, I must say that Malaysia is a lovely nation. We are really blessed in the sense that We have ample natural resources. We have the lovely people. But unfortunately, the politics nowadays, the partisan politics, seems to have gone off tangent. I use the word off tangent now because this is not the way we want. Now, I believe Malaysians, by and large, whether you are Malays, Chinese, Indians, or whatever, we share the same destiny. And we want our competitiveness. We want our competitiveness be enhanced further and not be sliding down. And on top of that, I really sincerely wish to see that our new crop of leaders, at least they can bring us hope. They can bring us hope and vision. Now we want statesmen more than populists. In terms of resources, particularly our monetary resources, I don't think that we should land in such a predicament now. We have our resources, but have we ever used our resources usefully, productively, or we just spent it wastefully? I think this is a question I would like to ask, because every year without fail, the Auditor General's report really make me sick since those days until today. Are we really kind enough to accommodate this kind of nonsense? This kind of nonsense. Because to me, anybody, even if you are the most tolerant people on earth, you shouldn't have tolerated such a nonsense. And the same old thing were to repeat time and again. The same old thing now would bleed the country profusely.